I'm John Seaman, and I'm here with Kerry Kautzer, and we're covering the 1997 Vintage Sports Car Driver Association vintage races here at Road America at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The featured mark this year is Ferrari, and you will see quite a few cars representing the world-famous Ferrari mark. The guest of honor and Grand Marshal for the events today will be the famous race car driver Phil Hill. And we will try and get an interview with Phil a little later on in the program. There will be a lot of other cars here today covering many marks in vintage racing, from the early MGs and Triumphs from the 1940s and 50s up through sports cars from the 1960s and 70s, which feature many sports car racing marks such as Ferrari, BMW, and of course the sports and production racing cars from the 60s and 70s, such as Corvettes and Mustangs and Camaros. In 1961, Phil Hill became the first American to win the Grand Prix World Driving Championship. For 17 years, his record was unchallenged, and today is shared by only one other American, Mario Andretti. Phil Hill won countless races over a period spanning 2 decades. Other highlights in his illustrious career include the grueling 24 Hours of Le Mans, which he won 3 times. He was a 3-time winner of the Argentine 1,000-kilometer race and a 2-time winner of the Grand Prix of Italy. He won the Belgian Grand Prix also. Phil has the distinction of having won the first and last race of his driving career, the last being the winning of the BOAC 500 at Brands Hatch in England in 1967. Dick Davies from Crown Point, Indiana. Please tell us about it.
It's an Austin 7, and I raced successfully at Silverstone in England. And as far as I know, this is the first race here in the United States.
Okay. Now, the car is a 1932, is it not?
Yes.
And what size engine is it? And what are other particulars about the car can you tell us?
It's a 750cc. It's a flathead, and originally the car was a kind of a large sedan, not really a big sedan, but kind of looked like a Model A. And it has a 3-speed transmission, which is very difficult to shift. I'm still trying to learn how to do that. And maybe later on, I'll have to change that.
Now, I noticed that this is what you'd probably consider quite a bare-bones racer today, but this was pretty good technology for the time, was it?
I'd say it was about somewhere in the middle. Okay. They had cars that were better than this and some that were worse.
Okay. Now, you say the car came from England. How did you find it?
Hemmings News. I found Hemmings News, and then I went to see a guy in Rhode Island. In 1994, I believe it was. I didn't purchase the car then. I bought a different car, and then last year he still had it for sale, and that's when I bought it. Okay. And I brought it home and had to do a whole bunch of work on it. A whole bunch of work.
Well, where do you find parts for a car this old?
Guy, Massachusetts, called Austin East, and he's the guy that has the parts.
Is this your first time on the Road America track?
No, this is my 3rd time. I drove a 62 MG, a 53 MG that I've had for 42 years, and now this car. And with Skip Barber, I also went to school here.
Oh, sure. Okay.
In 1993.
Okay. How does the car drive on Road America? Is it a little underpowered?
It's underpowered and really squirrely. It's just an old car. An old guy driving it, so we fit.
Well, thank you very much. It's a neat car.
Thank you very much.
I'm with Doug Karen from Plymouth, Minnesota, and he has a unique car called a bow car. Can you tell us about this?
Sure. Bow cars the factory started in the mid-50s, about 56, 57. This is an XP5, which was built around 59, 60. They ran small block Chevrolet power plants. There was a factory out in Colorado, a fellow named Bob Carnes, which is where the bow car name came from, started it. There was about, there's some question about how many were actually built, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 cars, through a series from XP1 all the way through a stiletto. Went XP1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the stilettos, which they built 5 over the last cars that they built. And factory burned down in 1961. This car in 1959 was $6,800, which is a lot of money in 1959. We run here. We kind of consider Elkhart our home track. We love it over here. It's our favorite track. We ran Brainerd, Minneapolis Grand Prix. We just came back from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, where we ran out there this year. We run about 6-7 races a year with the car.
Now you said it's got a small block Chevy. Is that bored out at all, or what's the cubic inch?
It's a 350. Most of us are running a little later motors because originally the car was built with a 283, but now they're all running the 350s for the most part. Has a tri-power setup, which looks good but isn't the most efficient system in the world. And we're trying to do as much as we possibly can to keep the cars as period correct, vintage correct. I mean, outside of changing some of the things for safety, most of it is all kept as close as we possibly can.
The cars from the 50s are kind of notorious for their handling. How was this one on the track?
Well, to give you a little idea, this car was built, his unique characteristics were that he used Porsche front suspension, 356 Porsche, so they were basically Volkswagen front and rear suspension, which is a lot of work in a big old special like this. Not the most efficient systems in the world, so you pretty much pitch and throw these things into corners, and they're great in a straight line, but they're not necessarily wonderful handling automobiles.
Phil Hill and Tom Murphy, and we are in the Ferrari tent. Today is Saturday, and we're going to be looking at a lot of Ferraris this weekend. Ferrari is the special mark. Phil Hill is a well-known racer, and he has had a lot of experiences with Ferraris. We are in front of a Ferrari GTO, and Mr. Hill, would you tell us about the car, please?
Well, I don't know that much about this car specifically, but I had the pleasure and honor of, I think, having the first win in a GTO. Would that be right or not? At Sebring in 1962. Olivier Gendebien and I were given that car rather than one of the prototypes, because beginning that year, the points for the championship were given to the GT category rather than the prototype category. So we finished second overall, won the class, and helped Ferrari win the GT championship that year.
I remember in the show on History Channel of the legendary sports cars when you were driving the Ferrari around, and that was really interesting. And you must have enjoyed that tremendously to get out there with that car.
Yeah, I really did. Yeah, it was terrific.
Tom, you've been in Ferraris for many years too, and you have a good collection of Ferraris. And what are some of the experiences that you've had?
Well, this is a unique experience. I'm very honored to have the 1961 world champion from Ferrari come and visit our paddock. And not only that, he's going to drive my GTO this afternoon, and someday if I ever sell it, I'll call it an ex-Phil Hill. I bought my first Ferrari in 1980, and it was a street car. And then I got into racing, and the street cars don't hold the attraction that the race cars do. And so my wife says this is conspicuous consumption down the paddock here. But this car was race prepared by Wayne Overy of Neenah, Wisconsin, and it has a titanium innards in the engine, titanium valves and rods, which have substantially increased the RPM and the horsepower. I'll be very fascinated by Phil's impression when he drives it.
I don't intend to sample it to that degree, Tom, so I hate to disappoint you.
Teamed up with many famous drivers. I believe you raced with Augie Pabst at one time, a couple times, and I believe you raced here at Road America also in the Ferrari, did you not?
I actually won the first event here, the first main event, in summer of 1955 in a 750 Monza, and had a very close finish. I think I finished about a foot ahead of Sherwood Johnson in a D-type Jag. I also raced in the circuit through the town and the environs here in 1951 and 52. That was tremendous, just a tremendous circuit, really. One of my favorite. All through my career, I mentally and verbally expressed that was one of my favorite circuits. One in Longford, Tasmania, down in South of Australia, and this one were my two sort of favorite road courses.
How about Watkins Glen? Do you have any memorable races at Watkins Glen?
Yeah, that same year in '52, I raced in a C-type Jag through the town, and that was the year the race was stopped because of a fatal accident early in the event.
Tom, do you have any questions for Phil?
Well, I first met Phil not from racing against him, but from racing against his son. And I first met him here at Road America and at Joe Marchetti's restaurant when Phil came out for the challenge race. I might add, I was looking at the back of his son's car because Derek's pretty fast. He's moved on from the Challenge Series into Barber Dodge and other events.
Yeah, he expects to be in Indy Lights next year too.
Well,
that all works out.
That's well earned. And I saw him down at Sebring this year, and he was driving, I think, in 3 different classes, was he not?
He was, yeah. He's also done very well this year in BMWs, as well as in the Barber Dodge events. And Barber Dodge Pro Series is what it is. He's been in and out of the lead here for that championship. 2 more races left. He's still got a chance. So we're really rooting for him.
Well, if he goes to Indy Lights, it won't be long before we'll see him in the kart series. I think.
I hope so.
Or in F1.
Well, he's hoping to go on in open wheels, as far as he can.
Of the Ferraris from the early 60s, the 250s, the 260s, the 275 LMs, what's your favorite?
Oh, that's a tough one. Gosh, I really don't know. I really can't say about a favorite.
How does the GTO compare with the 275? Is there a world of difference between them, or are there subtle differences?
I think they're just subtle differences. I always loved the GTO. I felt that the 275 was a bit short on brakes, but that's just my opinion. And of course, I was away from Ferrari by then, so I really didn't get a chance to sample the cars in the way that I might have.
When you won the World Championship, what races were those?
Let's see. We raced at Monte Carlo and at Zandvoort in Holland, and at the Nürburgring in Germany, and the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, and let's see where else. Oh, of course at Monza, and I won at Spa in Belgium, and also at Monza. I won twice at Monza.
How is Monza as a track to drive? Is that difficult?
I didn't really think it was all that difficult, to tell you the truth. Of course, in those days, slipstreaming or drafting or whatever you want to call it was what made the race. And now all of a sudden they've got themselves backed into a corner where it doesn't do any good to be anywhere behind, because all things being the same, you're not going to pass. So it's really very weird.
Well, Phil, we're certainly pleased to have you and Tom Murphy here at Road America, and I hope you have a great day, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to be here, John, and to be with Tom as well.
I'm with Phil Combs and John Colgate, Austin Healey racers. They've just finished their qualifying session. Now, John, you've been in Healey's before, is that right?
I've been in Healey's for the last 40 years. In fact, I did the first race at Lime Rock, which was 40 years ago. Yeah, many, many years.
And Phil, I know you've got some track time in the cars too.
I've always loved Austin Healey's. I started out with them when I was 16 years old with a 100M Austin Healey, and stuck with them ever since.
And you've been coming to these vintage races since the mid-'80s, I believe.
Well, Elkhart Lake's my favorite track, so I always take the opportunity to get back here and enjoy it.
Now, John, you've had a lot of rally experience, a lot of Austin Healey experience. What do you think of Road America?
I should have been here 40 years ago. I think it's absolutely fabulous, absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait to go back and tell my friends how great it is.
Great. And for our friends out there, where is your home?
Back in New York, Long Island, on the North Shore, a place called Mill Neck.
Okay. But tell us a little bit about your history with Healey's back in the 60s.
Well, back in the olden days, you had to be 21 before you could race. So I started a race with an Austin Healey 100M, 1956, and then I went down to Sebring in 59 with the factory and ran for 5 years down there with the factory, a couple years at Le Mans, and a couple years in Nassau, and I bounced around after that.
That's great. Which cars did you drive during that period of time?
Most of the time for Donald Healey in this country and over in Europe, and sometimes it was the Falcon Sprite, which is a little modified Sprite that he would put out on his own, sometimes with the factory on the big Healeys. Whatever I get my ride in.
What do you remember from those racing days? What was your favorite track you liked?
Favorite track? That's a tough question. Each one was very, very different. I mean, if you went down to Sebring, that was nice because it was nice and long. You go to Le Mans, it was great because of all the stuff that goes with it. You go down to Nassau, someplace like that, and it was a very different type of race, but everybody was supposed to have fun. The race was really becoming secondary down there.
Now, Phil, you've got your car running pretty good today. How are your times?
Oh, the times, I think we're around 2:49, maybe in that range, and that seems to be working pretty good. Well, we're having a good time. It's a lot of fun out there, that's for sure. One of the reasons that we're here today is we're practicing for the event next June at Le Mans, the 24-hour race. They're going to have a special featured event to honor Donald Healey. It's his 100th birthday, and they've attracted a grid from all over the country and all over the world, in fact, of Austin Healey's, from the Silverstone Healey to the Sprite and the 100M and the big Healey. So we're kind of sorting out the cars today in hopes of going over there and competing in June.
That's great. That's great. I assume you're looking forward to that too, John?
Can't wait. Like I said, we have about 150 entries already. They've taken 70 cars. And it'll be all the old cars, all the old drivers. As Phil was saying, cars have come all around the world. They're going from Australia, from our country, every place. It should be quite an event.
Will a British contingent of Healey racers be there too?
You can count on the British to be there, that's for sure. In full force. Yeah.
No lack of them.
I'm counting on John to show me the way around the track. He's run Le Mans before, so I'm looking forward to him for some guidance.
Phil, why don't you take just a minute here and go over the Healey with us? Displacement, engine, any particulars, how the car is prepared?
Well, this is the 3-liter Austin Healey, and it's obviously got the triple Webers, which make a big difference, and it's also got the factory alloy head, which lightens the front end, so you get better performance out of that in terms of cornering. The car comes with 4-wheel disc brakes, so the stopping is terrific. I mean, it really hauls the car down. So between the horsepower of the engine and the brakes capacity, the car is a real performer. It's also an alloy-bodied car, so it's very lightweight. But the real sleeper in the whole car is the transmission. We've got the close ratio gearbox with the overdrive. So in fact, every shift that I make, I go from 3rd gear to 3rd overdrive to 4th overdrive. We use essentially 6 speeds, and so you're always right at the peak of the power band. You never lose 1 horsepower for RPM. So that's really the true glory of this car. It's always on the horsepower, and we love it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Phil. We enjoy having you here.
Yeah, John, nice to see you again. Thanks.
With orange trim.
thinks it's about the same temperature the sun makes it feel. I don't even see the peak.
Some of the Group 6 cars, race call for Paul Sprint. Fourth round of NHB Racing VTEC Summer Scramble.
I'm with Jim Bartlett from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he has a Echidna. Would you tell us what kind of a car this is?
They're called Echidnas, and they were specials built in the late 1950s, 1957 and 8.
And what does it have for a motor in it?
They're powered by small block Chevrolets with the old original Rochester fuel injection.
Okay.
And they were built on a 57 Chevrolet passenger car frame, shortened and narrowed, and then the Chevy motor and drivetrain and a Devon body.
Okay. Now Devon, that's a fiberglass manufacturer, isn't it, for aftermarket cars?
Yes. Yeah, Bill Devon made a lot of bodies to fit on a wide variety of cars, and he also made cars, the Devon SS, which was a Chevy-powered car with a Devon body on it and had a frame similar to a Lister, and he made some rear engine cars and sold a lot of bodies for the people put on specials.
Now, how competitive was the car when it was running back in the late 50s?
They were very competitive. These cars, there was 3 of them built. I can't recall the exact race numbers, but I think in the first 2 seasons they raced in 35 races and won first overall 18 times and finished in the top 4, I think, all but 2 or 3 races. And the car that I now own, I owned all 3 of them at one time, but the car that I still have, the number 64 car that was driven by John Staver, that car was the national B-modified SCCA champion in 1959, so it was a very successful car.
You campaign the car here at Road America. What other tracks do you go to?
We're real active in vintage racing. We literally go all over the country. We come here 3 times a year. We go to Mid-Ohio, Road Atlanta, Palm Springs, Laguna Seca, Steamboat Springs, Colorado, Phoenix, Watkins Glen, Lime Rock. We literally go coast to coast. Florida, Sebring and Moroso in Florida. So we probably go to 10 or 12 races a year.
With that many miles on the car, are they easy to maintain?
They're incredibly easy to maintain. They just, they hardly ever break. They're very reliable. It's a very simple chassis, and the Chevys are real strong motors and very economical to operate.
Everything else seems to work all right. Everything else seems to work all right.